Arteta was proved right once again by you don't have to be a good player to be in my team. You just need to be a good player that can work in my system. First things first, Sukhi, you may want to hide yourself for this first bit. We are going to be starting the podcast off with Arsenal. But what's made Mikel Arteta go from top 4 to the top?
Do you know what? I think last year's blip mattered. So in a way, I feel like losing that game against Spurs, it made them realize that you have to take every single game seriously. And I think Arsenal if you watch Arsenal play this season, there's something that they actually do, which I feel like we do it very consistently. We start our first 15 minutes well, then we ease off, like maybe 15, 20 minutes, we ease off, just pass the ball around, let the other team come on us a little bit for maybe about 10, 15 minutes. Then for the last 10 minutes of the game, we just put pressure on again. And they do that in the first half and the second half. And I think that works so well because then you're only giving teams a 20-minute break within that 70 minutes where 20 minutes to half an hour where they can actually just play their ball or try and get on top of us. And usually in that 20 minutes to half an hour, most teams don't really do that much. And that allows us to therefore be able to put on the most amount of pressure throughout the game and just stay on top of teams. I think tactically, Arteta has had a plan. Like you said, I'm glad you brought up that. I've been saying it since last July because obviously I want everyone to know I've never been Arteta out.
I mean, to be fair, when we had you and when Lewis came on the podcast for his first time as well, you were both talking about how Arteta's got the way about him. Lewis, I don't remember you were Arteta out, were you?
I said if they decided to sack him, or if people wanted him to leave, I could understand why. I didn't explicitly say it, but I definitely was at one point. Like I would admit that. Like I think there was a period where we were in the mud, just didn't see anything going well for us. That whole period, surprisingly, the team was still backing him for some reason. We can see why now, but at the time, the club and the team was backing him, but the fans couldn't understand what was going on in that kind of sea of L's that we were taking, like in every record that was meant to be broken, like bad record to be broken was like worst start since who knows, and all of these things like that.
The big defeat in the FA Cup against Nottingham Forest in the third round, that was a big one as well.
There's a lot of big moments where I think I was like, this guy needs to go, but he's gone through it. And I think the FA Cup win was a big thing for him that built that momentum and gained him a lot of good faith with the board and with the club and the way he's held the team together and got a lot of the deadwood out effectively.
No, I think for me, the main reason why I was never Arteta out is because of the Ozil situation. Because I think we saw two very capable managers in Wenger and Emery have Ozil, and both of them crumbled. And for me, where I was like, this guy's actually he's got it. Like he's not afraid to put himself on the line. And you need a manager that's willing to take that risk and be like, for the better of the team, I'm willing to throw whatever it takes out of this building. And even I remember last January, everyone was complaining, he's thinning the squad. The squad is becoming less and less people. And I was like, do you know what? A thinner squad is like, he's now protecting that core. Like he's literally just protecting the players that he believes in, that he sees a future here. And that's all it is. Like, he's not going to, we're not signing players just for the sake of signing players. For example, you take the Chelsea bid, is fair enough. They're saying that we offered the same amount as Chelsea. But at the end of the day, I think it came down to wages because I believe Arsenal have a wage structure which is not going to be broken, and Mudryk was not an exception.
And I can remember back in last January as well, that was the whole Aubameyang situation as well. Yeah. That was well documented in the news and then on Amazon Prime as well, where you're looking at Aubameyang now. His career wasn't great at Barcelona, not great at all at Chelsea, and potentially even going back to Barcelona as well. So with whatever wages they were paying him, Arteta was proved right once again by you don't have to be a good player to be in my team. You just need to be a good player that can work in my system, and it's worked really well. To be fair, coming through and Jesus as a replacement.
Contrary to what it was like maybe years ago under Wenger, and obviously we had a lot of issues financially at that period. But if you look at all the outgoings in the past few years, when Arteta was here, do we miss anyone? Do we miss any of the signings, that we had and then have since left, even if we've recruited nothing out of them? Has the squad improved since? And the recruitment that we've made, like even the players that we've lost out on and still are losing out on.
You lost out on Rafinha, didn't you? And he's barely getting a game and his potentially wanting to leave on loan from Barcelona as well. But who do you have at right mid? One of the best right mids in the country, probably the best right mid in the country, Bukayo Saka, who's been on fire this season.
And I think as well, like when Arsenal fans think about that right mid position, they're always like, oh, I'll go spend 80 million on a player and stuff like that. But you've got to think about it as who's going to replace Saka. because whoever comes in is not taking Saka's place. They're going to be second fiddle for a very long time.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah,
which is why
they're not going to be first choice.
No, they're not going to be first choice. And that's the same on the left side because nobody's coming in to replace Martinelli. And I was even talking to somebody the other day about the whole Nketiah and Gabriel situation. And I was like, even if we signed a striker, they're not going to be a second choice striker. They're third string because they can't replace Nketiah at the moment because as much as everybody was against him getting the number 14 shirt, I don't think anybody can say a bad thing about Nketiah so far. He hasn't played badly. Even if you compare them to Aubameyang and Lacazette's latter performances, Nketiah's Maus is an improvement on both of them. And they both were players that we looked at as, wow, they're amazing. But in their latter years, especially Aubameyang, if you could say to me, I could take Aubameyang the last 6 months of Arsenal and take the last 6 months of Nketiah, the last 6 months of Nketiah has been a lot more instrumental in what we're trying to do than the last 6 months of Aubameyang. Yeah, so definitely. When you think about a striker, I'm just like, I can't justify us bringing in a striker and be like, okay, Nketiah, you're on the bench now, you're third string because he's playing well. He's handled the Gabriel situation, the Jesus situation so well. And once Jesus comes back, I personally think it's a war for first place striker. I don't think it's a case that Gabriel walks straight back into the team. I think they have to, play games. I think Gabriel Jesus is going to play second fiddle for a little while, and then he'll be allowed back into the team. But at the moment, that front three, anybody that joins Arsenal is going to be second fiddle. None of them are going to be first string. And I could see that possibly in the reason why Mudryk chose Chelsea as well, because Chelsea at the moment, even I could walk into that team at the moment.
I can imagine you left wing as well, outside the boot with your jeans and your Timbs on. That's how you do it, Sean. That's how you do it,
man. That's how you got to do it.